How to buy your first residential real estate property step by step to financial freedom. Let's look at each step in buying real estate investments. If you're going to get into the real estate investment process, there's 10 steps that you want to look at, specifically related to wholesaling or fixing and flipping, and they all apply to buying real estate, investing in real estate, and I just want to touch upon each one to give you a little idea. Well, the first thing you're going to do as you start to look for real estate is you're going to come across hundreds and hundreds of deals. You may actually look at 100 deals before you find your first one. I don't mean to discourage you, but yes, that may be the case because initially getting started, you're not quite sure what you're looking for. It's part of a learning process. Once you've looked at 100 houses, you're going to know what you're looking for. Once you've done your first commercial deal, you're going to know what you're looking for. But the point I'm trying to get in step number one is you have to track what you're looking at. There's certain information that you're going to see over and over. I call it the given information because the given information allows you to analyze the property. The given information is your property data. But the point that I'm trying to make is you want to have a little spreadsheet so when you find a property, you know the address, you know the contact information, the email, the phone number. You have a tracking system for that property. The second item, which you can also include on that tracking sheet, but it gets a little big so you can have a separate property data sheet, is to collect the property data, which is going to come up over and over again. Things like, what is the property tax? What is the property being sold for? Is there any negotiating room? What kind of expenses would that property have? Is there sewage? Is there any condominium cost? What is all the property data? So when you go and you start to research, you have the numbers because eventually, as we get into the steps, you're going to see that we have to evaluate the property. So collecting property data is the second step that you want to put in place with your system. Item number 3 is research the property. Researching the property is very, very important, and it includes things like looking to see if there's any liens on the property, whether or not the property is in the flood zone, verifying that the tax that's indicated on the internet is actually the actual tax that's being paid on the property, calling a foreclosure attorney, say for example, if the property is in foreclosure, to make sure that all the information is in that foreclosure statement. But you have to research every single aspect of that property. You have to look at what does it compare to? What are the comparable properties? What is it going to cost? What is the value of that property when you dispose of that property? You have to start thinking about this in your research because this evolves as you go on. And what determines this? The next step. 4, inspect the property. Inspecting the property is something that you usually have an expert do. A building inspection, a property inspection. You pay a home inspector to come out, look at that home, and give you a full report of every single aspect so you could sit down on your couch and look at, hey, do I have a window problem? Do I have a roof problem? Is there any drainage problems on that property? What do they think about the electrical panel, the HVAC? And you get to sit back and really inspect that property. And if you're a veteran and you go right out like I do and just inspect the property, I know what's happening immediately. However, I still have to get an inspection of the property in order to get the financing. So the inspection process is something that you don't need to necessarily know about, but let's say you're doing your next home inspection, go out there and meet the home inspector and just observe what's happening, and you'll get the ins and outs of home inspections. Now, why are you doing that? Because of number 5. You want to determine the improvement cost. What is it going to take? Are you restoring or renovating a bathroom? Are you redoing a kitchen? Are you actually doing the siding, the windows? When I walk through and I do a cost analysis, I have a little list and I go step by step. Is there any concrete? Is there any siding, windows, HVAC, electric, cabinets, vanities, bathrooms, tile? And that's how you determine the cost of improvement. Why do you do all this? All of this is related to the after repair value. You've heard me in other trainings about after repair value, where You determine the after repair value based on your comparisons, but because you just built that out and we teach you how to put the highest finishes, we always tell you to put the property on the market 20% above the ARV, because you can always negotiate down. And that's the whole key. You start determining this when you look at step 6 in establishing the ARV, which is linked to step 7, where you start to evaluate the property. You evaluate the property, as I was telling you, about all that given information. So now you start to look at the revenue aspect, because you know what it cost you to date. You bought the property, you spent money improving the property. If it's just a wholesale, you want to know what it's going to cost for that end user. So in evaluating the property, you're actually putting yourself in the shoes of the end user, that buyer. How's he going to look at the property from a financial valuation? Is there a rate of return? Have you taken all the meat off the bone? Have you killed the deal? Well, you do all of this before you do step number 8, which is place your offer. That's when you go in, and this evaluation process, which I show you in the Financial Freedom Protocol, which are the steps to start residential investing and how to accelerate your residential investing, shows you the offer range that you're going to place on that property. It's a priceless little exercise, but it helps you analyze the property. And after you place the offer, which is step 8, you go to step 9, which is your contract of sale, which in some cases you're negotiating. And then once the negotiation's done, you sit back and you do 2 things. You can either fix and flip the property, or you can wholesale the property. We teach a little bit about wholesaling properties, but the wholesaling the property would be number 10, which would fall under the exit strategy, which is assign the contract. And that's the final key exit strategy, which is what you actually know at the beginning of these steps, because you're going to know whether you're wholesaling that property or fixing, flipping that property. So all of the steps 1 to 9 apply to both. It's just that step number 10, whether or not you're going to be flipping it at that point, or whether the contract was already assigned and the research is long done, and then you're just waiting for the closing. But these are the step by step on how to get your first rental property. Make it a great day, and check out kenvanloo.com.